make sure everybody. Let's wait for somebody shows up.
Okay.
Doopy doopy doop. Where is everybody? Come on. All right, we got one person watching. Great. So one is better than none. So hello, everybody. I'm Howdy, Salone Girl. Thank you for coming in here. So we're not the only ones in here tonight. I'm James Rink. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. And tonight I've got Sean Bond on here again. Now he was on here exactly a year ago, December 1st of last year. So be kind of curious to get his input on the state of affairs of the world. So today, actually, Sean contacted me about doing a show about abundance and prosperity. So I wanted to give him an opportunity. Perhaps he can channel something. I'm going to give a bio for Sean so people have an idea just a bit. But the topics we have today include perhaps samsara, the RV, quantum financial system. I thought maybe we could talk about the two different timelines. We're at a crossroads right now between positive and negative, and I really feel like we're being pushed over to the positive from everything that I've been hearing. And I'll let Sean comment about that in just a bit, as well as some financial magic. He was going to help anchor that timeline in where money is no longer an issue for us, because obviously that's just another construct that we've been subjugated to, as well as what the new currency system might look like. Now, Sean Bond has the ability to read blockages and DNA records, past life memories, and he is the founder of the PSIONICS League and Silver Cord Spiritual Science. He can access DNA, he says here, of the body to track issues back to the point of origin in order to resolve any problem happening to the body or may be accessed by organic spiritual technology within each individual. He can help assist in creating and operating systems to help individuals manifest dormant abilities that unlock their psychic potential and upgrade the body's energy systems. He is also a telepath, remote viewer, psychic surgeon, and Reiki energy manipulator. Sean was also in an acknowledged project in the SSP as a time warrior and healer, and it took a long time to get that information out of him last time we got him on here to talk about his SSP experiences, because he prefers, I guess, doing more of the energy work. I would consider you more of a light worker, if anything, in your experiences here on this planet. And Sean will share a few of his experiences and shed some light on the SSP. Oh, that was from last time. But we're going to discuss some timelines of how it's been changed and affected. And I'm going to put your contact info out there, sn_bond@yahoo.com, and I'll also put in the link eventually when I get around to it. But thank you, Sean, for joining us tonight. How are you?
I'm doing great. Lots of stuff going on in the world. How have you been feeling?
I'm well, it's the change of the season, so I've been kind of burned out with my flu-like situation. I don't have COVID, by the way. It's a pre-existing condition that I've had for a while. But you know what? I'm glad that I'm getting better. Everything's fine. So other than that, thank you for coming on here today, and thank you, listeners, for listening in. Because I know there's a lot. In my opinion, YouTube is just loaded with a lot of noise, and it's just so much stuff to kind of flip around back and forth. And so if you're going to spend an hour here, we want to make sure that you're going to get your money's worth, or whatever your time's worth. Anyway, so if you have any questions about the financial system, welcome, Michael Taylor. You're in the Alpha Tech Group. Okay. Send me a message. I'd like to contact you. But yeah, go ahead, Sean. So where should we begin? How about the first topic at hand, or if you have something else you wanted to add to your bio or whatnot?
Yeah, whatever you want to go into. Yeah, and I liked focusing on body programming and evolution and superhuman abilities and unlocking psionics and going into ways to help every aspect of our lives through, like, programming the brain to be smarter, or the emotions to be more balanced, or dreaming body to be better and perceiving and be able to do throughout the video game of the dream worlds and astral experiences, and then going into locations or remote viewing or empathic coping mechanisms, really resolving entity attachment and things where they come into our worlds, and releasing curses, limitations, blocks, cages, and interacting with the greater game of the world, and asking and working with her for what she needs, the planet, and how to make a better world here, like bring heaven to earth kind of thing. What are the problems, solutions for them, tracking back situations, and then finding the solution. And then learning all the types of abilities that are required in doing that, and a lot of it going with healing and resolving who we are, remembering, and the big game that's here. And a lot of what I'd like to go into in subject is ways we can amplify abundance, we can tune into stuff, we can translate what are like blocks going on with people, so that everyone can like gain and grow to support themselves in what they truly want to be here and do, and not have to focus fully on just debt slavery and stuff. And paying to live, and the 9 to 5, and constant, all that.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I thought maybe, I mean, I have a list of some topics here, and maybe we could just breeze through them, and then at the end of this, we can do a meditation to anchor in the positivity and financial abundance. So, first topic on hand, Nasara. Are you aware of Nasara and its implications?
A little, not too much. Can you explain
mute
for the
yourself,
viewers?
Machan.
Oh,
We can't hear you. You actually mute.
a little, but not too much. Can you explain and like for the viewers and like go into it?
Yeah, well, Nasara was initially. I mean, I've done a 3-hour documentary on it, so shame on you. You need to watch that. And by the way, listeners, you need to watch it too. It's called "Changes on the Horizon," and matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull it up so people know. If you search for "Changes on the Horizon" on YouTube, it's being censored, so you can't find it. So what you got to do, if you go on my YouTube channel, just click on this one right here, this orange colored Nasara, and it's a 3-hour video. So that one I spent 3 years of my life on, and then I also updated it back in April. So I added like 3 or 4 more minutes. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, so yeah, check that out. And so what it has to do with is getting rid of the current financial order and replacing it with a new equitable system. And some of it's based on bringing about the precious metals and bullion back currency, but also about ending a lot of corruption, not only just in the banks, but in the government system, as well as allowing abundance and prosperity to flow to all people. More specifically, gets rid of the IRS, Federal Reserve. But there was a window when this was supposed to happen, and that was on September 11th, 2001, when they were going to announce it. And they weren't successful. So imagine doing a financial reboot of the world economy all of a sudden. And so there was too many forces at play that were opposing it. So certain groups, I'm assuming the DIA was involved in that. They're part of the White Hats, as well as it was the Office of Naval Investigations at the Pentagon. They got their offices blown up. But they're white hats in the military, as well in the banks, and even within certain Illuminati bloodlines. Some of these robber baron children were working to bring about a new equitable system. And now I think what they're trying to do is more of a slower reboot. So they got their guy in office, Trump, in my opinion, and I think he's working to slowly initiate this new system, but it hasn't been done yet. So here we are. It's 2020. What do you foresee happening now? Do you see a financial reboot? And if so, whenabouts?
A lovely topic. So there's a lot of things you can look up online, but I don't. I like to tune into things as they are from what I'm sensing in the body, and it comes up a lot. So there's a lot of dynamics to it, and there are different avenues of what each individual wants to project towards the future, and all of them have a say, because it is a chess move of multiplayers choosing what the future will become. and there are timelines that exist where there have been crashes or negative like consequences and things where there's a disruption of the current financial system without a replacement or like a seamless path, and then like different goals to upend that, and then the ones that are set up to replace it and how well they are able to overcome the dark. And so like enough support in both can be had, and with each individual able to affect what timeline they are on and what they perceive in the collective consciousness, and then how fast this manifests. So one aspect we want to go into our power within and make our life better and grow to our greatest self and our abundant self, so that we can emanate that, and then the whole world benefits, cup runneth over, and also like the planet also heals at itself and its abundance. This changes the timeline dramatically as an energetic system, and each individual is a vote to that and is needed on the timeline, and it's a constant battle between light and dark. So like if enough beings put enough effort and force towards this can influence all more smoother, especially if you get out the resistance. You can tune into and track back who are the players in the chess game involved, how much of issues that they're dealing with in each other. And I'm going to go into the light side, so let's go into where are the resistance that they face. And these individuals that incarnated here or are walk-ins or going into like the bravery section of spirits that want to heal the system financially. Okay, so there's a lot we can tune in with that. One second. So things that people can know. So I'll go back and forth between what they can do in the individual level to support themselves, what the planet can do, and what the Earth needs the collective unconscious and conscious to know, to amplify the timeline effect of likelihood that it will be a positive one, and we bring that close faster and faster and avert the negative timelines. So that will go into the pull of the negative time. As we bring in the positive timeline, we have to detach or resolve or merge the negative timeline in and resolve what it's got going on, because it's also a vote. So there's all these psychopathic people that have a vote on trying to maintain the old system of slavery and debt slavery and keeping that going. So we know the players, you know the players. Then we can see like the structure of it currently. Right now, I'll like go into one after another, like things that are stopping that timeline from manifesting. As an example, there are things, of course, with elections. And that's like the big play that's going on. A lot of Apex multidimensional predator cage matches going on over like what controls what, and it constantly refreshes every day. It's there are things that wouldn't have been here in like that would have been dormant or asleep on the timeline for years, hundreds of years in the future, and wouldn't have exposed itself because it wanted to have a longer game chess move that had to expose their hand now because of the amount of force that would be going into taking away the stolen authority from the dark back to the light. And the light's been making some major chess moves, as you can tell with things. But the exposing of the timeline ability of voting system is one of the biggest opportunity that is happening right now. That's like changing everything. As you may or may not have known, for the listeners, that they just been unquestioning, and media has just been promoting that we just have everything okay and it's all fine, and it just doesn't make sense. But no matter who wins, it can fix all the elections to greater scrutiny, and then people have a list of all the ways people can commit voter fraud, and then make the best possible system for that ever. And anyone ignores that, and it's very in your face to tyranny. Okay, so yeah, a lot into that. I do see like beings set up in place in chess game to amplify the financial system. I do tune into Trump having a lot of in like spirit that his focus is like resolving that in the unseen, and he has like the biggest ego right now on the planet, doing that thing, and then Biden and his ego were fighting a whole bunch. There was like this big exposing of a lot of predators on the planet, all that wanted to influence the timeline back and forth, and it just as one grew, it exposed more chess moves in the other one, and it's just this nice thing that flushes out a bunch of negative timelines in the future. So I too bad we didn't have more debates. Like that would have made more better timelines for the future, because people, it's like a huge wake up for people that this is really what we're giving our power away to. This clown show, but okay. The You know about the money magic, the sigils on the dollars, and the Babylonian money magic system, and how it passes debt to individuals, and it's a whole money system based on no value anymore because the gold standard is gone, and so it's just passed around debt based on people's belief and having to work off things and debt slavery, and then it's losing all this power and other things. So I see in the future a lot of possible currencies based on actual value of things, such as precious metals, like you said, all the types of elements possible, and seeing greater value past like what people know that they can be used for in technology, physically in different machines, or even spiritually, such as gold is good for power, amplification of the solar plexus and the like sun radiant energy. Silver is good at antiviral, like anti-parasite protection, immunity. Palladium is good at abundance. Platinum, let me see if I can remember. Oh yeah,
So
platinum.
you're recommending keeping these precious metals on you while you meditate, or
Oh
just
yeah.
in
Well,
general?
so it depends on the situation, but depend. You want to clear them and clean them, and then audit what's in them, like, because a lot of the precious metals will have spirits and elementals attached to them, and they may have gone through some trauma, like through the smelting process, or be totally fine depending on what's going on. But you want to purify it, and then bring it to sacredness. And then once it's in sacredness, it can only benefit you, and you can work with it. It will have a mystery school. It will have the psychomic tree information of, if you scan it, you can look at everything that happened to it. It's in the timeline, how it was born, what spirits were made into that, the process of bringing up an elemental or transmuting it, or even its line of energy going back to original, like suns sparking, or I know there's like beetles that like poop gold and stuff, and then there's elemental dragons that like sit in mountains out of phase, and then will start spawning like a crystal or a gold, and then that will go into that in a multidimensional programmer level of beings that create matter. Then yeah, and so and platinum is good at the I am, like the being, your sovereignty, your spiritual experiencer, the being in the body that's supposed to have the peak hierarchical order experience of you being in control of the body and no one else, like or the peak where you have the most sovereignty over your body, where you control it, you make the rules, kind of thing. There's a bunch of I have like listed all the elementals, but there's like a company that makes coins out of all the elements, and then makes that. I think that will kind of be relayed, but then there'll of course be the types of credits over computers, but that should always be backed by something of value, assets, or like promissory notes in general.
So you're talking about the quantum financial system. Will there be a ledger quantum supercomputer keeping track of all the assets and some Boolean possibly backing that. So that's in the works.
Yeah, and I know a bunch of people that are also making additions to that. I think based on all the timelines I see and compare and contrast, it's best if there's a abundance of different types of currencies and coins and options, so there's no accumulation of power in one individuals that then start to try to like branch out all their control. But as long as there can be a market and a coming and going, and then the whole collective is able to choose what it wants to orient towards, and then that will allow for the free will expression of value for exchange for value, and abundance to be had. And my friend quantum businessman Chris Sinatra goes into we're gonna be going into more abundant systems amplification for people, both physically and spiritually, and we'll probably be going more into how to improve that in like cryptocurrencies or things beyond that could be possible, and learning the ins and outs and make it so that everyone can have abundance. And I know there's multiple
Well,
groups that
do
want
you
to
know what,
amplify this together.
Sean? Do you know which crypto your guides are telling you to look into, or is it?
So like when I choose a crypto, I like to look to see who owns it, and then if there's like a possible co-opting by like banks and stuff, and then to see if it's hijacked with some like purpose to keep their currency going in the future as they lose, the negative currencies of the past lose power. And then after that, you can see who's left, and those to look for in your chess move of vote to empower. And with the other ones that are, compromised in some way, you can still earn money off of them. They don't want to go away, and they're going to, of course, have like some shitty advertising thing that tries to elevate them above other people. But
Well,
eventually people have to pull out. Like you can put in and then take out at strategic times. It's
do you own any crypto?
a little bit, but I need to get more into it. But I'm involved in a project to make my own, or also like learn how to do it. So because I think in the future, the more they have, the better chance of no one being able to crash the economy anymore, because it just means like, oh, one currency went down, who cares, kind of thing.
Can you tell us what crypto that you personally invested in and you think you should get more of?
Um, I'm kind of like I don't really promote the ones that I'm currently putting in, because they're not that uncompromised. But I take in and out based on the up in the market and you being able to make stuff. The goal in that eventually is to find the ones that are uncompromised and can't be sold off or bribed or all that. I'm still looking for various ones. What have you used currently? But I am not confident enough to say, oh yeah, this is totally unbribable. That needs to be made more. But I see a lot of like up and coming ones that or underground ones that are fairly reliable, but they're not being promoted much at all.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, without any specifics on that, I think we can just move on. So, you were actually giving us a list of some different types of metals that had different frequencies. You wanna read out that list again?
I can, sure. And what metals are you interested in? I have pretty much all of them listed.
The precious metals.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So that'd be the platinum, gold. You got some silver in there. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Indium is good at chi holistically. Like, okay, so you would interact with the elemental involved. You can either work with the elemental that's already there in consciousness. Things will just want to incarnate into physical matter, and just chill out because it's valuable being here every second. And they have a different life journey concept. Trees don't really die when you cut them down. They like become ships, or tables or all that. Some, they have a different process in spirit than us. Anyway, indium is good at chi holistics. Titanium is it goes into the work. It's good at impenetrable, invincible, unbreakable, programming, immunity, invulnerability, resilience, imperviousness. So like you can like work with all these elements and work with them as a teacher, wear jewelry, objects, and then if you need more of that type of thing or energy or program, you can just wear them around and it will be like a puzzle completer. Copper is good at like creational energy, holistic. Zinc is good at beauty. So recommend going with zinc if you want to go into more beauty holistic amplification. Mercury is interestingly good at levity and speed force, which goes into what it's used for, as we know with red mercury. So that makes sense. But yeah, deadly.
Red mercury is used in the anti-gravity crafts that were created by the Germans. Gave them space flight, but you have to spin at 100,000 RPMs, and that's if you can get your hands on red mercury, which I don't even think is available on this planet.
Yeah, what is it? I forgot what it's chemically composed of. Or yeah, it's not well known anyway. I kind of tuned into it. But I think you can still cause some electromagnetic field fluctuations by spinning it, like even if you didn't add the other components to it to make it red. Nickel is good at separation holistic and unity holistic, like when you're unifying or you're separating a thing. These are the types of energy they're able to produce. You can go through their mystery school as the elemental and learn how to amplify yourself in them, and like as you have it around you and you just initiate to like work with them, it just ups and makes how much energy you produce in that amplify. There's a bunch more I can list, but I'll like go a little bit more into people on a abundant level, what they can do for themselves on the planet.
Well, how about gold and platinum?
Gold is good at power, like going into what we talked about before. And so that's why a lot of people accumulate it, and you can use it for storage of power and increase. And then these are just like the calling card thing that they're going to be good at for when anyone interacts with them. They have way more that they're good at besides that, especially when they like you. And you can also imprint like part of your spirit into them and use them as technology. Platinum, like we said, palladium. Okay, yeah, palladium is good at abundance, so I recommend that for it. That is a little expensive. Platinum is good at IM holistic, like you being able to go to the core problem and resolve that. Ruthenium is good at truth. What are some? There's also a really luteum is good at miracles. Like what are like things you would want to improve about your life? I'll look up the metal for it. Like there's ones for dreaming body stuff. There's ones for magic is thulium. I was like the Thule Society is interesting with that. I wonder if that connects, but probably not because it's probably like a scientist's name or something.
How about silver?
So I went into that before. It's antiviral, protection, shielding, anti-parasite. You can also do that with the monatomic silver. Is really good for that. Monatomic copper is good for anti-aging, but it's used a little bit with abundance, but like creational energy, so you can outcreate a lot of things with copper. What else? Aluminum. root eruptions is a weird thing. When I'm detoxing myself of like aluminum or other stuff, it's very angry because of the smelting process, and it's like full of like trapped emotions. And when you release them, you can have the aluminum detox from the body, and they like you, and they kind of like relax, and like some influence, psionically to detox a body if you want to get rid of vaccines. What else? Bismuth. Lanthium is good at dream memory if people want to improve their dream memory when they come back. And knowing power. Lanthium. I'm looking for some really cool ones. Maybe with some stuff for abundance. Intuition is rhenium. Selenium is psionics. So like think of it like this. There's like value in all these in very unseen ways, and like more technology than we're aware of that we can create with this stuff, and in combinations. And when people like start experimenting with this more of what this can possibly bring, even if it's not on like too much of a thing, if people knew all the what these things can do to amplify their life, they'll use more precious metal currencies, and there will be different values up that won't be limited by the stock market, which fixes its prices anyway. When shit hits the fan, the price of gold goes down. It doesn't make sense. But hey, people can buy up gold if they want. Cheaper. What do you think of
Yeah,
it?
so basically, buying precious metals shouldn't be necessarily for transferring wealth in this period because there's so much gold and silver on the planet that it's a common element, but they just make it sound like it's precious because they purposely withhold it from the inventory.
Yeah, exactly. And the diamond industry is like they have way more diamonds than they're talking about, and they're still like keeping the prices up because of the belief power of weddings and stuff. But
All right, so here's the list we got. I missed the nickel. What was the nickel?
let's see. Separation wholeness. Like if you're trying, it also works into depossession. But yeah, if someone, not to go fully into that because it's a little overwhelming. But like old time ways to depossess people, like through objects, like a big crystal, and you move the negative entity to a container. Same thing as like Jesus and the Legion demon. He put all the demons in the sheep and then had them kill themselves, or the ways people do it in Indonesia. But not. I don't like doing it with animals.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Pretty sure I got most of that right. Hopefully, all of it. But
Yeah, and there's a
just
lot more. But like whatever you come up with in ways to amplify stuff, I can go into that.
sure. Well, are you ready to move on to the next topic at hand?
Sure, sure. Okay. So can I read like some things that aren't gonna be
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Sure.
they'll be okay for the crowd and will also help us like amplify abundance. Um, so Earth, in helping her, if you want, there's like place of power for abundance that you can find. Some ones as an example. That's a big one for people. I'll go into the United States.
So these are locations near ley lines, perhaps.
Yes.
And
Um, I can
and the
find
ley.
a few, but there's like a lot of stuff in Colorado Springs that are like big cannons of energy, um, that can be amplified to shoot abundance to everyone. I think with the geysers, there's like some advanced technology with that. Anyway, so people can do spiritual work on that. There are a few of the geysers, and then for themselves, work into the abundance body. It's like it works with electromagnetic field, guides your auric emission of biophotons, and these biophotons you can send off to non-locations and influence stuff. You can also interact with the field of a thing that you're trying to attract in abundance. It's kind of like a law of attraction field. If you gain this certain type of energy in abundance, it's mostly root and solar plexus stuff, mostly solar, of like abundant amount of energies. You can make fountains of all types of energies within you. And once you're able to pressurize that within you and contain it in a higher density, then and keep stuff from draining it or stealing it like at night or something, then you can it will have like an attractor field, especially if you go into programming it to, oh, here's what I want to attract, and then you put out all those intentions for what they are, and then you can also monitor it as an extension of yourself goes out to find where those things are, or people or whatever that like add to abundance, and they start attracting them and bringing them in different scenarios, or do a trade or a commerce or something that's like, oh, I'll trade that person's higher self to influence them to the coffee shop that I'm about to go to, and we just end up having a conversation, or opportunities that are window open and then the person getting influenced to go there, or like timing is a lot involved in it, as well as things actually showing up in your life in like the hologram and how it's rendered.
Okay, so you were discussing how to help planet Earth, and you mentioned hot springs or natural geysers.
Yeah,
Let's see.
in Colorado Springs, there seems to be a lot that wants to activate. Let me look up some.
What about, say, lakes that have sightings of sort of like Loch Ness monster-like creatures, or sightings of a Bigfoot? Those areas where they're natural portals, and even like the Firebird, because I mentioned that last night.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the Firebird legend you were talking about?
So there are rumors of people sighting pterodactyls in Arizona, and the Native Americans call them the Firebirds, and apparently they look just like what the fossil records show. So I'm assuming these creatures are probably coming from another dimensional portal, and they're coming back and forth, so they're not staying here, which is probably a good idea considering that they are natural predators. If you've ever seen Jurassic Park, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so the question is, what are your guides telling you about the Firebird?
It's probably going to be hard to believe. It's similar to what you're talking about. So with pterodactyls that I found around the planet, most of them are not that high spiritual, like in awareness, but and underground, in like those pocket bubbles of reality in inner Earth with the artificial suns, and then there's caretakers for them. But there are ones that I've found that do have a higher intelligence and are old, and somehow they've gained life extension. For what we're talking about, it seems like there's one of those remnants of a ancient man. Yeah, I'd love to just like say this is just some normal pterodactyl, but when I'm looking into it, it doesn't seem like it's a normal one. It seems like it's got a high powered spirit in it, that's like the consciousness of a star kind of thing, and then it being like a protector. I see the same thing with thunderbirds when I track those back, and there's like all these big ass birds in Australia underground. So it's not going to be my perspective isn't going to be, oh yeah, it's just a normal pterodactyl. It's like, oh yeah, there's also these giant whales and megalodons and things that like sometimes are in the ocean at different periods of time. Some of them I've seen them have water portal technology to be able to like travel, especially like with hurricanes. There seems to be something that transports species of fish in and out of the time different points in the timeline through hurricanes. But yeah, there's these crazy relic species on the planet. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say this is the. I mean, this picture is real or not, but evidently it looked more like a pterodactyl than a giant raven. But either whether or not these beams are real. So can you comment where are they coming from?
The one you're talking about. So I'm when I'm looking into it, the more I look into it, it's like people aren't gonna really believe this. I'm trying to figure out a way to say it. Um, yeah, it's not gonna be a good answer for skeptical people. So don't like take what I'm saying as if it's totally true. This is just what I'm reading. The pterodactyl one seems to be a spiritual protector nearby, and is long lived and may have the ability to disguise itself in other forms, and have a higher sentience. That's like rare, but like yeah, most of the ones I'm not reading that many that are in the the United States on the surface. It's still mostly underground things, and some in South America that like have this cave system.
Hmm. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop scanning that. So, audience members, you just got to pause the video and read all that. But yeah. So evidently, so at least we established at least some of these creatures are real, and I mean, yeah. So, would you consider those natural portals where these sightings are, places where we need to meditate or to help planet Earth? Maybe even like Sedona.
Yeah, people can do that.
There.
Yeah, I recommend that. Finding the place of power near you. There's ley lines and nodal points every few blocks and somewhere near the property. If somebody can find that place of power, they can access the whole grid and they can start upping their fortress, protect themselves, amplify place of power to like come up like abundant fountains, and they can learn how to do that within themselves in the grid of their own body. Mostly the solar plexus stuff in the heart. Heart goes into love, and that the solar plexus goes in power. Have them dance around each other like divine, feminine, masculine, light, dark, yin yang, kind of coming together like lovers to amplify in the body as like you would feel when you're connecting two hearts together. Completion, and then cultivating your abundant state of being, your most abundant self. Seeing yourself with overlay with the planet. There's a bunch of meditations people can do. Keep adding new ones and coming up with more. The whole system of mind, will, emotions, vision, grounding it all, and different layers of creation. And then like a lot of the solar plexus can have multiple things like force, magic, and psychic ability to like get you to where you need to go to manifest your abundance. Let's see, the attraction force. You're wanting to feel like so like a yin field. Like a black hole kind of pull to a yang, which is the abundant, the representation of abundance. You're wanting to be the yin field and be like a sucking attraction factor. You can even read what is the representation of the distancing between what you want and how far it is between manifesting, how many actions you need to take, where you need to be open to resolving in the body structure, energetic qualities. May I like read some things with you as an example to like, oh, what can you
Yeah.
improve?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
So your abundance fountain, it's somewhere for safekeeping. Yeah, you're not gonna be simple. One second. I gotta track that.
What do you
Um,
mean by a abundance fountain?
okay, so like energetic parts of the spiritual light matrix of a person. The soul is fragile. There goes into soul retrieval, and the soul sparks and getting fractured or going through trauma, and then that going into altars. Like same thing with parts or power of yourself, which is one of the big reasons where like people are like, oh, I used to have superpowers. Why don't I have that now? Especially in the wound of the big fall of Atlantis, a bunch of things invaded and stole everyone's stuff, and like they're in, we're quarantining those demons and things that apex predators down to this planet, to different hell realms or quarantine realms, or resolving it in our body systems or attachment or through our work. So that will go into like reclaiming power, and that go into reclaiming abundance. Some things will steal the things that we want, and our ability to reclaim those, hold on to them, protect them, keep them from getting stolen in this really hard ass game. Sorry. If you can do it here, you can do it pretty much everywhere, kind of like thing to it. Yours is on the planet. It's not in this realm. Okay, yeah. Okay, your abundance fountain. Oh, geez. Okay, so like some of the things, unfortunately, when people track them back, we stolen by big demons that are like, yeah, I want this, especially if you have something big and powerful that something that doesn't have it will want. So let's see. So people will track their stuff back to these things in the tree of death or the Killapoff of the quarantine realms of Earth, such as hell realms and stuff. So I'm tracking back one to that. So ways to resolve that for people that are dealing with that issue. There's the different ways to do it. I recommend going through the body of the map of you are everything and seeing yourself as the universe, and there being representations of that realm, the being within it, also within you, in you, because you are everything. And then being able to do it in a very detaching, loving way, so you don't have to entangle with their drama, and you keep that out of your field while you somehow regain your part. So to regain your part, you have to cultivate enough freedom energy and in the body. So I recommend, like, in anyone wanting to do this, you can just like lay back and like hug yourself and go into breathing deeply and cultivating bliss indicating you're successfully attracting charge, and you feel you're hugging in an embrace as you expand and contract, expand you and embrace the universe in a hug, feel oneness with it through your source connection, so that you're not agreeing to any bullshit rules, and you're making the games your rules, and you're not projecting onto others. You're in unity through your heart, through source, through every connection with everything, and letting go of the limitation, separation consciousness. So unity, embrace through the heart, letting go of the external, like, oh, lack and all that consciousness. And breathing in deeply while you cultivate the feeling with your heart sensing capacity to see if you feel any limitation on your freedom, any like limits or cages or chains or all that. And your goal is to start filling it with light, filling it with like this transmutation by like seeing the light from your heart well up and like a big star, and make it brighter as really, really bright, and expand excitement, love, like those two stars rotating around each other and coming together like lovers, to expand that love power. and amplify that through your body, plus freedom cultivation. So you're transmuting all the cages, all the limitations into freedom, and you just give love to the limitation and then ask what it wants to become, and it starts to transmute into resilient freedom, or the opposite. Anything we're talking about, limits to freedom. And then when you cultivate about 1 billion units of freedom energy, you kind of compress that all into a ball, and your goal is to visualize exploding it out through like a quantum entanglement attachment of the wound and the stolen part. So like for your abundance fountain that used to be a part of your body in your solar plexus, you'd be like blasting that through quantum entanglement. Anywhere it is, even if it's stolen, it's still quantum entangled with you. So you can just go through that, have it free itself from whatever cage or thing that's capturing it. You can work with Earth to ask that it be portaled out. She'll help with that. She'll like trade you or whatever. And then you quarantine, clear it, clean it off, and then when it's ready, you can reintegrate it back into yourself, especially if you're able to protect it. Because some of these big powers, these big superpowers, there may not be really much of a place for them to be protected or whatever, depending on if they're they're imprisoned, or some of the superpower parts of herself will be actual soul shard that like could go into an incarnation, as an example, and it could be like some alive version of you that eventually wants to merge with you when it comes back and it resolves its experience. But it could be just in soul form, though. And then it might not feel comfortable or safe if it remerges. So then the process is to make it so that you cultivate the body so it feels protected and it can't get stolen from again. And then if you're all good with that, then you'll feel that abundance flowing, and then it can go off into many different things that you've trained it for. Abundance fountains usually work where if you give 70% of what you like, if you're producing abundance of healing energy or abundance of value or beauty or intelligence or all this, there's a law of what's it called? Generosity, where it's if you give 70% of it away to things you deem worthy, then you can keep 30%, and then that goes into you can keep making these lines of connections of giving abundance to beings without like any cost to you, and you can draw from it infinitely. I recommend going through the mystery school internally to earn your abundance fountain back, or if you had it, or earn it if you never had one before. And there's vision questing abilities to do that, and going down doors with your guides and all that kind of stuff.
Well, Sean, so was there a point in your life when you realized you had an abundance fountain and you were seeking to try to incorporate it, or was it always activated with you?
The great question. I grew up in a little bit of poverty. I didn't have much going on, and then after I had experiences, I would be in the humdrum. But eventually got to the point where I'm living pretty good. I live in somewhat of a mansion. There's like 2 hot tubs and like a pool and a sauna and a lot of healing equipment. And I like going to my passion, my career of helping people heal the body and program their lives. And I get to meet wonderful people like yourself and take on some big issues, because that's like what works you up to the success chain, is you being able, if you want to get big promotions, you gotta be able to take on bigger stress. You gotta be able to take on bigger challenges as if it's nothing. And I take care of people's big problems. I take care of multidimensional apex predators that people find themselves entangled with, and are really costly on their health. Targeted individuals, you'll know what I'm talking about. Things that will limit you your whole life, will drain from you, chronic fatigue syndrome. I will get rid of all that, and I help people do that. And I've helped a lot of business owners do that and help them to reach into their abundance because they feel so blocked. As soon as they get a lot more of their power back, their solar plexus on, they have energy to work throughout their day. Any of the blocks that they named, their dreams start manifesting. They get more vision, creativity. They just flow into their own, and it just, even throughout this crisis, they do well. And some of the people I have, and I'm doing pretty great. Unfortunately, throughout the world, I'm sorry that everyone's not doing. Maybe I can help. I'd love to.
Well,
And a lot of
John,
it's, yeah.
yeah, I've got a question. So, did you always have these abilities, or I mean, was this something you learned? I mean, I'm not gonna say from a book or watching a bunch of YouTube videos, or was this from a past life experience that sort of followed over to this life? Can
All
you
of
comment
it.
on that?
Yep. All of it. Yep. I like learning from everyone and all teachers. So like I'll like go in that. I also did big into the research. Some books, a lot of the magic books I like going into, but yeah, I'm mostly autodidactic now. I barely look at other people's content that much. I have too much asking me for attention telepathically. I was somewhat into it when I started getting the vocabulary for it. I was having like dreams at a young age and multidimensional experiences, and just would go off with my imagination. But it flowed in as I got out of mind control, and the experience allowed for it in time to process. And some of those big mystical experiences that you can't like deny, and so kind of, but it's like you're definitely, you go through amnesia, and then you want to try to remember who you are, and sometimes the environment won't really help with that. I wasn't really helped with it. If I was, I'd probably be sooner though. How about you?
Well, I haven't got like past life memories back, maybe little flashes, but I don't know. I don't really necessarily want to comment about who I was. Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
right. I got
I mean, I
that.
could, but people start been sending me questions on Facebook. But would you be willing to at least say? I mean, were you Merlin? Is
Oh
that
my
you?
god. No comment. So anyway, yeah, that I don't like to talk about who I am that much. Let me see what I can say.
Well, I get like a lot of elements, not, fairy energy around it, like almost like you were an elf.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Same. Yeah, the elves. In the I usually, they're like going very fair. They're having a lot of curses affect them. I see only a few underground, but they like mostly go to that other realm in the Tree of Yggdrasil. Okay, wait, so for me, yeah, I do have lots of past life bleed overs, and I like downloading the abilities fairly quickly, and I'm training to be able to download them quicker. Everyone can learn how to do this. It's like a remembering chamber type of thing, and then a lot of brain power and heart power, empathic downloading, connecting the consciousness to the super consciousness and sub, and like downloading it all through. And there's various things that people have been able to successfully make for that, but a lot of it's programming the body, the DNA, and helping release all of the motions and mind blocks that would prevent you from having clarity in perceiving who you truly are, which will always be there no matter what gets erased or whatever.
Okay, question from the audience. Were your parents a Mason?
One of my parents was. My dad was. He's 32nd. He didn't really seem that aware of things. I don't. I think it like once you pass like into 33 and there's the secret ones, then they'll start like telling you some deep stuff. But he seemed to also get out of it and not really want to talk about it, unfortunately. So there are a lot of bleed overs I get from it, mostly controlling. I don't really like to associate with them, but I have like learned a lot of their stuff and looked at some of their manuals, but I don't agree with it fully. And deism, I don't really fully agree with the clockwork universe, but like the God went away. or the Luciferian doctrines. I don't like agree with those. I don't, you know, the influence is through targeting and like projects that want to influence what is in the DNA in my lineage. But like I'm also trying to guardian that, and everyone can, and they can get rid of the blocks, because a lot of people in the projects are very unaware of things, can be instantly influenced to forget about it or look away from something, and like they will start ignoring you, kind of thing, and then you can have like less targeting.
Okay, thank you, Karen. That was a good question. You must be intuitive, or you must watch his show on his other channel. But okay, next, here's a good question from audience members. Are the RV Chinese elders actually Agarthians? Grandfather who no one has ever met, who works directly with Saint Germain. This explains a lot if true. What can you tell us about the Chinese elders and the
Are you talking about the dragon families?
Well, the Chinese, I mean, that would be part of the Ming Dynasty, the Chinese elders. Some of them are rumored to be over 300 years old. Like that's the young ones. The older ones are 3,000 years old. But I'm assuming they're probably from the Anunnaki bloodlines. But do you have any information on the Chinese elders?
I mean, I do. Let me like see what, because a lot of them are psionic, and will be like amplified in chi and like old ancient masters, and like depends on you're talking about the dark ones or the light ones, or
Okay, how about here's a name that actually I had somebody channel before or telepathically communicate with is Peng Zhu, and he's one of the Chinese immortals, and apparently he lived to be 800 years old. But when I reached out, had someone reach out to him, he told me that he's still alive. He has a dojo in Thailand, and he doesn't really like Americans very much. And he's sort of racist. I'm not saying he's racist, but Americans have a really bad reputation based on his experience. But can you like contact Chinese elders like that, the immortals?
I've had a few contact me. Well, like Chinese is a big place, so if you're talking about the ones that are interacting with the government or the CCP or like the mafia or the triads or the martial art families, the dragon families, the cities hidden in the forests, the chi masters, the ones that there are ones that live past 300, 500, 700. I see ones that are still alive past 1,000. I try to stay at a distance and caution with interacting with them, because they have the ability, quite a lot of abilities that they gain, and they have the ability to attack if they feel threatened. So there are a lot of there are negative ones, but there seems to be a system Earth is trying to have to limit the negative ones from getting past a certain level. And then also their radius that they're able to affect things by, so they're kind of quarantined. Most of the big negative ones are quarantined down to China, as well as a lot of the Indonesian islands are in a constant like expansion, and then something attempting to track them, and they're kind of at psionic war with each other. A lot of them throw shit at the U.S. and influence things, and also have like this assassination program psionically. I'm sure you've also heard about the Cho-Cho with the dream invading beings from Vietnam. And then there's a lot of the dragon families, chi vampires. So the dragon families are trying to interact with the financial system too, and that's an interesting war that's going on.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Peng Zhu said that he had part vampire DNA, but he gets his energy from the sun and not from eating blood. But he also said that he has a daughter, and I was supposed to marry her in a past life, but I got caught up in war and was sent off and abandoned my duties, and he's expecting me to meet up again. I guess to finish the job or task, but I know. Anyway, but the um, I don't know why we're going down this topic. Is there anything else you wanted to comment? I mean, are there any immortals that you could bring in right now that are positive
Yeah, let's
that you
talk about the
think?
positive ones. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, who's interested in being public? I'm getting a few that are in the audience right now. So there's some
Who?
very powerful protector ones. There's like beings that are like kind of like Doctor Strange, like protecting the whole planet. Their awareness is pretty high. It's mostly their higher self awareness, and then they'll like bring things into their physical body of what they can process at any moment, and then the overwhelm with that. I don't nothing. They're gonna be very isolated. They're like in the mountains. Some have like schools, like some going with Shaolin stuff, martial arts that have been in for a while. Okay, what? Let me see if I can tune into information that will help you guys. Like, why not go to the Golden Dragon family for their abundance things? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Tap into your dragon force. Don't be afraid of it. It's like dragons aren't inherently negative. They're all these different versions of them. They're not the same as Draco. Draco are trying to steal their DNA and then incorporate them as that symbol. They're old, really old. They're ancient, more older than this universe. They're celestial beings. There are many different forms to them, and then they like to incarnate. There are quite a number in percentage that are incarnating as humans, and a lot of people inherited their DNA. The Dragon Force also goes into, it's similar to Kundalini, like what we went into before with the aluminum element. If though that a lot of that needs to be purified because it's very haunted. Aluminum usually is haunted, but it got a root eruption. There's like these things in the bottom of a root, like the Kundalini, an egg, a Phoenix Force, a Dragon Force. And depending on what DNA lineage you hold, you can have like multiple of these like birthing experiences that shoot up this big current up the spine and activate all these brain cells. And a lot of it goes with a current from Earth that is able to get through the barrier of the root and like amplify and give you what you need to stimulate your own like spinal lightning kind of thing. And that will just open up so much. If you have you had a Kundalini experience?
No, I can't say I have, but maybe in the secret space program I did at some point. I mean, I was at Montauk, but yeah, those were not positive Kundalini experiences anyway. But yeah, okay.
You've heard about the Montauk pyramids, haven't you?
So those are ones off the coast at the bottom of the ocean, and so that would be dating back to the time of Atlantis. So, why are you bringing that up? What's the story with that?
Like barely anyone I know knows about them, and I'm eventually wanting to go on an expedition or something to find them. The water's not very clear, so I got to figure out what to do. Maybe like some scuba equipment or something. You know, eventually want to like figure out how to turn them on or something.
Well, I mean, if it's a vortex point, you could just get on a boat, charter a boat, and just go over them. I mean,
Yeah,
the energies
true.
are still there, but you might be entering into the Bermuda Triangle.
Right. I wanted to see if there's like some chambers or something, but they might be flooded, unfortunately. I
Oh,
don't know
well,
if you knew
that's
anything about it.
now you're talking about a multi-million-dollar expedition, so
Yeah,
you're going to
yeah.
need some expensive submarines. But yeah, and certainly I've actually talked about this on my show about Ashland. Are you familiar with Ashland?
I've heard the word before. Can you refresh what's it has to do with?
Yeah, so there are a series of seven giant biodomes on the bottom of the ocean that covered up portions of Atlantis. So when it went down into the ocean, there were portions that still remained intact. and there's approximately 300 million people that live down there. And these biodomes are bigger on the inside than the outside. So on the outside, they may look a lot smaller. In the military, the Navy in particular has been trying to get down there and break the protection, the force fields, and they're not able to get in. And so some of the beans down there have reached out to some of the experiencers on this show and given some information about it, because there's actually a cross exchange now within the SSP to share information. But yeah, these Atlanteans live to be about 150,000 years old because they have the full 12-strand DNA activation, as well as they're about between 8 and 12 feet tall, depending if you're male or female. So they're big ones for us anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that topic. I didn't know. I'm glad these things are coming up to the surface. Uh,
Can you make contact with some of them down there and
I
see if they
have.
got a message?
I have, and they some of depending on the species, they've contacted me back. I contacted some mermaid siren being and some Atlantean different civilizations. There's quite a few humanoid ones and then non-human ones that are like surviving from that time. And yeah, they'll if they're psionic enough, if they got telepathy, especially if they're like the royal lineages and they have some spirit guides and stuff, they can talk to you. Uh,
Are you getting any messages like right now? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if
from
it
them,
get,
nah, they're
okay,
not that aware of like to be back in time and like end up showing up right here. Uh, if Mike, I can contact them. I don't know if they'll respond right away. Let me see if I can send them a message. What's up? How's it going? Uh, just yeah. So I'll contact them and see if they respond. But um, I have a few interactions with. I don't know if yeah, it's okay to talk about that. There's these mermaid type species that are near South America, deep inner Earth, that have their bubble of reality and have some interesting belief systems, where they come from, and what happened in the falls. They don't really like humans that much. The ones that are more humanoid, they like to keep to themselves more often. There's this weird thing with these species where there's a rule that if they interfere with the human world, there's like these deep consequences, and there's these beings that are monitoring back in time, and some of them get cursed or go through intense drama when they do. But that hasn't stopped some of the species from entangling with humans and falling in love, and then them sharing DNA. It's this nice little thing. Some of those domes that you're talking about, I see around South America, like off the coast of some of these bigger, mystical cities that have the ruins left over. Some in the there's like these tunnels under the water, in secret places that are a little fogged over, so you wouldn't be able to see where they are unless you knew exactly where they are in near Ireland and England and Scotland. There's stuff near Madagascar. There's a lot of places, but most of them don't want to be known about. But depending on who you are, if you have their DNA, I recommend anyone that's wanting to track back these things, start with what you have in your DNA. It's like a calling card. They will be more open to you knowing that you are part of their lineage in some way, or have somehow introduced you their DNA lineage. And then because
right.
you also are a solution and can help them.
So someone commented in the chat, mermaids will show you the way to the pyramids, those Montauk pyramids. So maybe you were asking about the Montauk pyramids. Next thing we know, start talking about mermaids. So maybe that's something you need to meditate on, investigate some. All right, we've got another question. What about the ant peoples that saved the American natives in the Four Corners area, the ones that brought them underground in the last cataclysms? Are they still there? Thank you,
Yeah, I
Nancy.
love them. They're very interesting. So them as well as the different. There's many type of ant humanoidish, and then not really higher sentient ants. There's also the mantids and the fusions between them because a lot of the insectoids like to combine their DNA. Many factions within them. There are some of the hyper aggressive ant people, and then there's the more friendly ones. I like to interact with the ones that won't bite your head off. Just suggest that. Um, yeah, a
And
lot of them are.
some of them are super aggressive, and they can just rip your arm off and say, "Oh, broke easy." They just don't have any compassion. But others, some are super loving, benevolent beings. But usually they can be very aggressive if provoked.
Yeah, the ones that are positive have introduced their DNA to us. They see us in like a friendly light of somewhat family. The it would be in categories of how advanced their emotional body is and how spiritual they are. The queen is super psionic. She's so good at telepathy. It's just her thing is instantaneous. She can talk to so many beings at once. She can show up dramatically and be able to nudge them and uh, like direct messages and visions into a person's mind. Same thing with the mantid queen, and some of the giant telepathic spider queens can do that too. But yeah, so I recommend starting with the positive queens. There's a one big one in South America, and there's another one in Asian. It's kind of on the borders of China, and some that don't really want to be known about, but they have like to have colonies pretty much at every continent, and also in the other planets like Mars and the Moon. They're helping. They're with this genetic experiment. They're also resolving their issues. They see us as an antidote for like a lot of drama they have going on in paradoxes. They're like resolving like these big paradoxes that are entangled with their DNA through our big game resolution of being a super hybrid that can take on drama like nothing. And then like as we rise up as a species, it causes like an evolutionary chain reaction to everything that we hold in our DNA. They have a really cool incarnational process, and they're very aware of and they're not afraid of death really at all, because they can just reincarnate back with pretty much most of their memory. Yeah.
So, with the ant people, I mean, these are more like hornets. Are they like this, or are they more mantis-like? This, or
There that one has one. Yeah. Some of the factions, some will have like more limbs and appendages and different like protrusions, and they will have like that will be based on what colonies and plants they've been. Some are from like Arcturus. That the ancient ones will have a different design from the newerly evolved ones, because they'll also change their genetics over time. Then there will be the hybridization programs that combined both humanoid and insectoid, and they'll like look similar to stuff like that. But I'd say there are a fair bit of variety, but those are some pretty interesting pictures.
okay. Well, hopefully that answered your question there, Nancy. How about we? Because I know we're jumping around a bit here. I wanted to pull this up to get kind of a little bit back on topic, because I came up with a list here of two different timeline trajectories: the Great Reset or the Great Awakening. And as you know, the elites are trying to set up the negative ones want to do the Great Reset and a negative timeline, And in this timeline, they're going to end ownership of all assets in exchange for a vaccination and debt forgiveness. So they also want to do an RV, and then they're going to confiscate the majority of the funds for themselves. And this timeline shows Joe Biden being president for a year, and then finally the voter fraud is going to be exposed. But in the meantime, the economy is going to collapse, and there's going to be lockdowns. And if you have a job, you're probably going to be forced into a vaccination. And there's a civil war probability of 35%. So then we have the Great Awakening, and this is where Joe Biden turns himself in exchange for immunity, and that's apparently what's gone on because he recently apparently broke his leg while walking his dog, which is probably code word for he's wearing an ankle bracelet now. In exchange, he wanted immunity for him and Hunter, his son, for obviously for all the voter fraud. And then Trump's going to be inaugurated, and then we're going to see med beds released, the collapse of the pharmaceutical industry by July 21, and then ET contact by 2024. Of course, debt forgiveness without strings attached. So, is there anything that you're seeing in this list that perhaps we should add?
Man. Okay.
Well, what do you think about this list that I came up with?
I like it.
Which trajectory do you think we're on?
Okay, so it's the main groups of beings want a awakening, a resolution of people in their awareness to bring to wholeness, to heal themselves, to spark freedom, to get away from the power. So that's the main thing. And then the parasite on our backs that is operating through stolen power wants the Great Reset. So it depends on the individuals that retake their power constantly, and it's like a culmination of compression of evil throughout the multiverse being quarantined down to the solar system, down to this planet, and us resolving it through our super resolving bodies that we have as humans in the human experiment. I find this thing where a lot of the thing, if you're wanting to make a big impact on those timelines to where the Great Awakening happens more, it goes into a chain reaction of healing and bringing wholeness to yourself, which then brings healing and wholeness to Earth. She had a big wound with the fall of Atlantis and a few wounds before that of the civilizations, and she going down dimensionally, and then the different dimensions and experiences have to quarantine themselves from bleeding over to each other so that the problem could be taken care of before we rise back up into merging with those other experiences and beings and things that exist in those dimensionality, like in the old times and what we saw then. To heal those wounds, so like Earth is having this huge lack. So like if you were to imagine things in our energetic system, like her abundance fountains and her armies of things that go into that abundance to being able to maintain itself and make heaven on earth. A lot of that was stolen. It was over time. It's some of those beings left, and then some were here and quarantined down, and then as Earth woke up, got up out of that deep wound in a coma, and is like bringing herself back up in awakening in herself, and we're awakening on ourselves. She's pulling all those beings back and to resolve all their drama and quarantine them down, and then get all those parts down to less and less chess games to be resolved in. To eventually, she brings back wholeness and then can awaken fully into herself, affecting the greater consciousness. It's been a lot of her abundance has been narrowed down to this realm through our bodies. So, like, we have, as a super hybrid resolver of things, there'll be things where some of the biggest positive beings will incarnate here and resolve stuff and hold the line for the timeline. And then some of the the most negative beings in the multiverse will also be incarnated here, and they resolve a lot by being here too. And then they compress all that evil down into one space and eventually transmute them into a different state of consciousness. And there's that back and forth that everyone learns from. So the stolen power has been quarantined down to human bodies. And some people are like positive and negative, like the abundance keepers of positive, and then the abundance keepers of negative that are holding on to their stolen parts of abundance, like through the corporations and the negative businesses. And once we quarantine those down fully and keep them from expanding and stealing more people's energy, and we unite together to take out the thing that they're a lightning rod for in evil, we bring wholeness to all of it, including the evil and the light, and balance the dark with the light, so that, because everyone is one, so it's like a wounded version of us that forgot who it was. And then get that to wholeness, they let go, or get the power taken away from them and given back to Earth. And then it resolves to like this big unfoldment of abundance everywhere, and people just knowing what to do and having it flow, and kindness and being good caretakers and being able to produce more than what we consume in a lifetime, and it being constant. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah. Well, I guess more specifically, the question is, do you think we're on a positive or negative timeline? So I'm still lost or confused.
Positive.
What do you think? Okay. Well, I think so too. And it seems like every time somebody comes up with talks about the negative timelines, it never happens. It's almost like it never sticks.
That's a good part.
There's something else directing the consciousness of the trajectories. I mean, if you're a remote viewer, you remote view the future, and you see this negative timeline, and so why is that the case? Why are some people seeing the negative timeline and some people and it never seems to manifest? Is that because they themselves are maybe intuitively are negative people, and they're seeing that possibility because that's what gives them excitement in life?
Good intuition. That, and also like there'll be like different attachments to what we see. We won't automatically know when we get in vision if it's applying to real life, or if it's a omen, or if it's being given to us because we have the ability to change it. A lot of people will see like tsunamis and like big catastrophes in dreams, and then they'll start thinking that's going to happen for sure because they dreamed it, when in actuality it's being dreamed to them because they have the power to stop it. And if they empower that thought, they can actually prevent that, and may have already been involved in preventing it, whether because their higher self will usually want to. And then if it doesn't manifest, they'll be like, oh, I guess I was wrong. No, you prevented it. Or like going down that route. As soon as we know about it, as well as we're allowing more people in the collective consciousness to know about it, we can all prevent it and do what it takes to stop it. So it like goes in hand. We should always know what we want to manifest in the timeline, know what we face, not want to ignore that. But like you know, because like the light workers will go, oh, stay away from the dark because you'll manifest it. No, it doesn't work like that. We have to become aware of all our problems to see what overcomes them, and then we can start detaching and putting more attention and more of our energy into the solution or the better thing, while not ignoring that, and then being able to maintain and prevent it, like you said.
All right. Well, I was going to ask if you have any predictions that you see happening in the future, but based on every time I ask you this question, it seems like it doesn't really matter because you can manifest whatever you want. Is that the correct answer, or are there some specific things that you're definitely seeing happening in our future timeline, and what would they be?
Boy. Okay, I'll tune in some hints and stuff. Let's see what we can get, because it does change all the time, and I'm actually happy when it does because it just disrupts so much predictive model. But like we know what the dark want. That's a strategy to look out for because then they're pretty much not more creative than that. They will stick with that. Then there's what we want and the people that are supportive and energetic and awake enough to do that despite the limitation. So I see a lot of clashes, see more propaganda, like some big wounds to the propaganda, big challenges. I think they think they can get away with 2 more lockdowns before people stop being like, hey, you're idiots. They have a bunch of, the dark have all these cards of distractions that they've set up with a bunch of stolen money. They're gonna probably put as many of those out as possible before they get captured, including the possible card of the fake alien invasion, especially before the big names get captured. I think they'll try to do that, but so the financial system, they're trying to, of course, do that reset thing. What have you heard about? Because I've heard about both the negative way of doing this, and then also heard of a positive way. But I'm like, okay, then that means that there's a chess move of how this is going to go from both angles, because the dark has laid out that they want this thing, and then the light will change it. They'll use it as an excuse to play more of their supportive chess move for humanity. Every time the dark does something, it allows the light to do something to counter it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they wanted to, the dark wanted to cancel out all debt and then do this reset where you lose if in exchange for debt forgiveness, you have to give up all ownership property rights.
Yeah.
So that's their goal. And so what's going on is that the positive life forces, they also want to have debt forgiveness, but they're not going to do it all at once, because last time they tried to do that, the World Trade Center went down turned into rubble. So they can't do this, do something sudden. So they're trying to find ways of making it appear as if there's a rhyme and a reason before it. They could be a little bit more subtle. So credit, at least what we're possibly seeing is credit card debt going away in the next year, and then mortgages finally going away in the year after. And then finally, I guess by 2022, the debts will all be gone, and maybe by then we'll see an RV. Because I know a lot of people, they're saying, I think Kent Dunn, he's predicting something big happening between January 1st and January 3rd. But their timelines are in flux. But I don't think it's going to be an RV anytime soon. I think we've got a few more steps to go before we're going to get there. Unless you're seeing something different. So, do you know what I'm talking about by an RV, by the way?
No.
That's the revaluation of the currencies. There are certain ancient, it's not ancient, but gold-backed bonds, in particular Zim notes, that's at least one of them as part of the process. And the goal is from the dragon families to buy up these notes based on what their value is. In the case of Zimbabwe, the value of gold in the ground, the assets underground there. But to use that as a basis to help reboot the world economy. And because we humans have been damaged so badly by the cabal, raped over and over continuously from all their financial transactions. The goal is to reset it all, but revaluation of currencies is one of them. I just don't see that happening anytime soon, because there's too many dark people out there running everything. They got to clean house, and they're going to steal the money. I mean,
Exactly.
even like that's why a lot of people were talking about the dinars, like, oh, get dinars. But the problem is the Bush family has $100 trillion worth of stuff. So if they revalue the dinar, then the New World Order would be financed for the next 100 years. So I mean, we can't do it that way. But yeah, so yeah, what are your guides telling you about that?
Yeah, so that the whole dynamic of that timeline is based on the unawake people and what they put their belief and energy into, because like that's the whole money system, and what they apply value to and will continue in trading. Um, so yeah, I don't see them the dark side doing that as soon as they can, because they'll try to. I don't. How do you think? Unless they're just like gonna tell us, "Hey, we're gonna make it so that everyone just gives up all their property." Are they gonna make you sign away your property to do that? Because like all
All
that
right.
just seems like
Well,
something that would just piss people off.
yeah, well, I mean, that's more the negative timeline. So, I mean, that's assuming that Biden got into office, he did all the lockdowns, and they have mass vaccination agenda. And at that point, the economy is absolutely going to implode because it's going to shut down businesses. And most of the economy is small business. So the only ones that are going to prosper are the big, large corporations. And so when that happens, yeah, a lot of people are going to be starving, having, not, we're going to see massive amounts of defaults on mortgages. And the banks may even call in their loans. That's another thing that I'm hearing is that they could suddenly call up all the mortgages, and if you can't afford to pay it, they'll foreclose on. They could foreclose on half the homes on the whole country. And if and when that happens, the United States federal government could possibly totally collapse. That's what I've also been hearing. And that's when the Civil War takes place and the United States breaks apart because most of the trajectories are showing that Trump is going to be our last president, and this may have been it. In the future, we'll have like a council if the United States survives. Now, I think the United States will survive this, but there are some trajectories which show it breaks up into five different regions. I've got notes and all that, and we could discuss that in detail if you want.
Sure.
Um, okay, well, yeah,
So,
let me go
so
look for them while
I
you go ahead.
the way I'd go into that is I can look at the timeline of what it requires to meet the goals of the positive timeline, and people can work towards that. Unless it meets those specified interactions, it will be left to chance and people's will, versus a system that wants to just have it go downhill in any way they can. So it would take a scrutinizing of the banking financial system and the Fed and like all these systems that look after money. It would go into really scrutinizing them and seeing how they make money. Us get more on the local currency level where we can form councils of our value and wealth to the community, and being able to work together and vote to make the system better, and not and look for any ways it would be faltered or put in the hands of a limited elite few, and getting out of that system, and everyone not putting their belief in that anymore, which takes a lot of movement, protesting, and people getting together, having communication, creative creations, making their own currencies locally, just mostly talking. Like that seems to be the most suppressed thing right now, is people interacting with each other, which is part of why this is happening. If communities are able to get together, they can start going into trade, and then it going bigger. The banking industry, it needs to have like whistleblowers come out, or utilize different markets, because a lot of these markets are made so that there can be a club that benefits off it more than the others. So it needs a lot of council debate. Barely anyone's talking. It's going to be like a similar events to how the election fraud is being disclosed now, and then like through a big negative act of like the voting system doing this fraud, it can be exposed in like all the ways to look out for it in the future, and then people will start taking out of certain types of banks and then putting their money into, like, how you would suggest, precious metals and cryptocurrency, and then even beyond that, when people make currencies that are not defined by those concepts but are still based on value or assets or the accumulation of an agreement in a community or a society, and then having it based on what real value is besides objects, skill and talents, and putting things together and making stuff happen, which ultimately is the motivating factor behind people doing work anyway. So people, yeah. People
So you want me?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and pull these notes up that I have? Okay. So like I said, this is one potential trajectory, and I was, okay. So we know that the galactic core energy is coming in, raising the consciousness of the planet. So the negative regressed races are going to be annihilated as this galactic core energy is coming in. Now, I'm not sure exactly how that works, whether or not they just drop dead or they go away. I don't know. Maybe they'll just disappear in another dimension. So some of these beings are hiding in pocket universes, and they're doing these time loops, going back and forth. Now, we talked about Monarch and Mobius on the show, in the past, but so we know that these beings are also on other planets in the solar system, including Mars and Saturn. But most of them have already left, the negative ones, and are gone back to the galactics. And then so now, as these regressed beings, the few of them that have remained here, they are causing, helping. They're trying to block this energetic upgrade that's coming through. Of course, chemtrails are also doing that. But then the higher dimension has already done this reset upgrade, and so as you can see here, we're going from a third density humanoid to fourth, all the way up to 7 and 8 and 9, and but some of these entities are not going to be shifting, and they're going to be waiting to the next cycle. So we got this going on, and then of course we have the negative military elite, chemtrails, media, 5G, vibration. So all this is slowing things back, but in the future, things are shifting. So between 2017 to 2025, the third dimension with the old timelines of Atlantis, the old realities are going to be totally dissolved. So we're seeing that happen right now. And that's why there seems to be so much chaos. And there's like the dark have their plans, but they're not able to push them into fruition because so much is in flux because of the timeline loops are dissolving. The negative ones. So their only hope is basically to stay in these timeout bubbles. But those are also going to be dissipating. So they're going to have to go back and do another timeline bubble. But that's up to them. They'll let them figure it out. So 2026 to 2035, 2D and then 1D will be the last one to fully disintegrate. So around 2045. And then, so there's some information there about some super soldier tech, but the regress use parasitic insectoids to suck energy out of our body and use it for their purpose. They look like leeches, worms, or octopus on our heads. Can you confirm that, Sean?
You see the regressed, are you talking about the beings that are being quarantined into those bubbles, like more?
Maybe the Chimera group, Archons. What do you think?
What do you mean by regressed?
The negative races, maybe
Okay.
more. Yeah, it could probably be more of the etheric beings.
Oh yeah,
I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, I run into the etheric parasites all the time. Well, not as so much anymore because I have like this huge shield, but every once in a while there's like a new type that comes out of either void space. There's like a bunch of portals in Israel that like let out a bunch of things from void space, universe 6, antiverse, some hell realms. I've seen some open up in different places in Los Angeles. It'll let out some things that are cultivated by this energy harvesting system that like take this predator will be like, oh, I want an army, and then it takes a being and splits into many little parts, and then has it run through like a gauntlet of torture that gets it under domination, and then puts it out throughout the world, and they'll gain energy from people. There's like giant these little spiders and worms and these pin needle things, like a lot of the insectoid types, bats. I've seen like different parasitic there's a parasitic version of every species that can exist, but usually not always. I've mostly seen spiders and beetles and mosquitoes and like ticks and things on people.
Well, can you comment if like, say if you were to look at Joe Biden, or maybe how about this, Kamala Harris, either of the two, do you see negative parasite attachments?
They're like fully possessed. So yeah, and then they'll have armies like involved in that, and then they'll themselves be a parasite that's like has a huge ego that's trying to steal from the entire United States, and everyone that tunes into their broadcast. There will be an attempt on their energy and stealing it subtly to where it isn't barely noticed. But yeah, if it's a talented parasite, you won't even know they're stealing your energy. But yeah.
What about Trump? Do you see any parasitic entities around him?
I mean, he's got a huge ego. He's an entanglement trap himself. Like people are like putting curses at him and stuff. Like all these like armies of liberal witches. Bad idea. To entangling with him. He has like this contract with Earth to be a trump card and be unpredictable chess move in this game, and he's got an equally large light and dark versions of himself he's existed as, and he's resolving his dark self by doing what he thinks can help the country. But the media will make up a lot of stuff. Not saying that he's all good or anything. Nope. And he has like some entanglements with some of the Greek gods and stuff. Like if you look in his room, it's full of Apollo statues and stuff. I saw a lot of the dark deities and anti-gods getting their power taken away by some of the Greek beings coming in, interacting with him. He will. I don't know if it's exactly parasitic, but there'll be a lot of drama around him, and some good things. I recommend using loving detachment with both of them, honestly, because especially since they're fighting each other, they're gonna be both entangled with each other, and so there's constant stuff going at him. But he takes a lot.
All right. Well, let me pull us back up. Let's continue on here. So we know these parasitic and I guess archons, whatnot, are organic in 4D. With our inner sight, we can remove them by intending for them to energetically manifest to us. When we see them with our inner sight, we use our physical hand to remove them and pull out their tentacles. With 5D, we can use our inner sight to see. 5D is mainly technology and AI. We don't need to use our hands for 5D parasites. We can destroy them with our thoughts. If you don't ask, you won't get. Just ask the technology for destruction code and they will give it to you. It is a universal law when tech is created. Just ask. These 5D AI tech connect us to alternate realities, timelines, and must be removed to free ourselves. World Peace Festival in India. No, that was August 6th of 2018. I guess NASA did 2019. This has helped wake up the collective and create this new positive egregiory of the planet to think and manifest. And that's partly why we're on a positive timeline, is because of the people that meditate are putting us in that direction, because the egregiory of the planet is positive. This peace meditation is empowerment and co-creation. By meditating on peace, we exert our God power with a little g, God with a little g, influence the 20 billion collective on the surface, inside and in between lives, because the collective is asleep and do not exercise or exert their co-creative powers. We, the awakened, can shift them easily, just like the negative elite have been doing. We are doing it by mass numbers. The Peace Festival destroys the elite power and dissolves their influence. It is extremely effective, and you also see Schumann spikes, never seen before in these dates. So, you want to comment about that meditation? What do you think?
Yeah. So like unity in a mass guided meditation, that can help a lot of things. Like people are afraid of mass meditations because of like bleed overs and entanglement. And that, yeah, there's things to look into that so you don't get your energy harvested. So it's more of like if you feel confident in your protection and then you really wanted to make a difference in the world. And then not like just giving your energy to the group, having your intention and then focusing on unity of like if all the cells lit up in the body and they like united towards the same goal and intention. Everyone can trade hyperly with each other. Everyone can it like resolves everything instantly, and you can amplify your own ability. And it's like you would feel it through love increasing. And I recommend people connect through their heart, like going inward to their source stream, their source branch, going back to all the branches and where they intersect, and then sending power and amplification from the perspective of falling into faith with your source, and uniting all the branches of everyone in the unity for the intention with complete faith that nothing negative will happen. The negative way to attach to a unity meditation is through the external, through separation consciousness, through the ego, through the environment. Let go of all that in separation consciousness, the limitation, the problem itself, and go inward. Embrace unity. You can detach and unify at the same time, essentially, and then having that infinite trust fall within into your greatest self, and then you bring that to the equation. It's like you're kind of like merging into that light deep in at your core, and you're bringing that out and disseminating it to the rest of humanity and the collective unconsciousness, and then everyone doing their own thing with that too, of course.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. All right, so let's move on here. Okay, so we can dissolve the unwelcome interfaces of ET without struggle. So all the dimensions up to the 11th are infected and regressed. 12th is our only hope. After this galactic energy cycle changes our consciousness and destroys what is not supposed to be here. So Semiose. So she is the reptilian. She's also the father of Jesus. She's hermaphrodite. There are extremely few old Palladians that are hiding from the Dracos, but most of them have been shot up with reptilian genetics, to create hybrids. The reason some people connect with alternate realities is that they have been injected with genetics of beings from those alternate realities or timelines. And that's where I think a lot's going on here, the super soldier phenomenon. The Dracos capture or purchase higher genetic beings with some extremely violent devices, ripped off the genetics of these beings and sold them into military or slavery. These genetics must be removed to free ourselves from these regressed timelines, and by doing this, we release humanity from these anchors of energy into other realities. So what do you think of that, Sean? Removing this, I guess, etheric DNA or DNA from other timelines put into us?
Yeah. Okay. So the different DNA introductions. So there's the energetic ones through updated pattern, like antenna signal from Earth. There's the ones DNA seeds that come from like celestial bodies like planets and how they'll interact with us, and then higher up dimensional beings, they'll have a chess move. They'll also, I've seen angels that interact with our DNA, and demons. Some of the angels will fall as they interact with our DNA because it's so traumatic. Um, uh, there's a lot of things that have a chess move and are controlling into that. So it's kind of a lot of layers, and I recommend people going in and scanning their own DNA or having a professional help you or learn how to do it from them. And then you can form meditations that make it simple and that have your conversation with your higher self of what you want to do and intention, and make it simplistic and going into faithful belief system, release of doubt that you're doing it as you put energy towards the intention of detaching negative lineages that aren't supposed to be there, lineages that are coming over from like paradox portals. Like I've seen things that like towards those falls of those old civilizations where weird portals opening up in DNA that allow things to go back in time, like and add DNA. Sometimes this is good, sometimes this is abused, and it adds like a lot of negative stuff that wants to continue itself, that shouldn't exist, or it doesn't have really a good purpose and can only reach towards corruption.
And so Sean, can you help people with that?
Yeah.
Actually extract this DNA from other timelines?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's another timeline bleeding over, so it would usually go with an event on that timeline where it's introduced a negative thing where the person may have been taken, visited, abducted, force impregnated, or like even had things injected into them in a cocktail, or when things go back in time to when they're gestating in the womb, and then try to imprint on that. If it's an abduction or a thing in the unseen that no one has observed, you have the ability in Earth and in galactic law to challenge that in the timeline, to where you and your team, your soul family, and whatever you got in support can go back in time and prevent it from imprinting, move it to another timeline, and then detach from that. And so that it doesn't need to exist anymore, and as long as you get rid of all the symptoms involved. And if there's memory, then that's more attachment. But and it might want you to have the DNA. It's like agenda of the higher self. If there's any purpose to it, or if there's no purpose to it and it doesn't benefit you whatsoever, you can reject that. But if the higher self sees value in it some way, like, oh, this dark deity or something introduced its DNA to you, and it's like, well, there's kind of a good and a bad with this, and then you can get more in depth, like detaching from the predator and having boundaries and anything negative parasitic in the lineage, and then causing some type of remedy or peace with the being so it has no ill will towards you, doesn't need to know that you exist, and that like by you having its DNA, you're like also an antidote for it, and then bringing it back to light, especially as it wants to entangle with you or does some type of update, spread out code that flows throughout the lineage, like some of these parasites will do. When you have their DNA, they'll leach into the members that hold their DNA and then start stealing their energy through it. Yeah, you can prevent all that.
All right, thank you. Sure. Okay, so let's move on here. Okay, let's go back up here. So we were right here. Okay, there are massive numbers of sleepers on this planet. 30% of the population are clones. Now I heard it's up to 69%, but I don't know. Either way, these so-called people eat. Yeah, all that. They have kids. Yep, they go to work. So their main purpose is to shift the energies of the unawakened masses to the agenda of the dark forces. By having enough clones behave in a certain manner, the unawakened person would shift their actions to conform to the mass. That is the main purpose of the clones. So what do you think, Sean? Is that true? Do you think
That's
they're
those fun topics you get into. So again, with these topics, I don't want to project. Take it with a grain of salt. This is my what I tune into. So the clone thing is another unseen layer that is malleable, and if you have things projected onto you, or you feel in your being that you're like any being feels that they're in a clone body, there's aspects of it and you can read the story behind it, like when did that happen, where's the original body, where is it kept, like, and then your intentions. My intentions with it, when I find myself or my body or other people or clients that like feel they're in a clone body, or feel it's data is giving that back that they are, if that were to happen. My goal is usually to get them back in their original body, or because there seems to be more value to that, more of the parts and the soul parts has more of an attachment to that, and there's more power from it. So any individual can figure out how to get their back in their original body. Anytime a project goes against your free will and takes things, mess things around, put inputs, programs, or takes you out of your original body, that's a chess move, and it's against your free will, and it can be challenged in the unseen. And you gotta just engage. You gotta learn all the tools and the controller and all the keyboard to interacting in the unseen, getting your original body back, finding where it is, getting it. If I usually see when people are out of their physical body, it's usually, oh, it took a big hit in damage and it's being recovered, or they were through battle and it got messed with horribly, or if it's in pieces and they have to regenerate it, or if they got killed and it's in an enemy base. And so there's these things people can go with. I recommend if in any of those situations, if it's an enemy base, I recommend you accumulating unity with your soul family and off-world ancestors and beings that have the capability of getting various ships and the force necessary to get it back. Or if you know anyone with teleportation technology, like getting it out of there. If it's not like gonna cause like huge wars or something. Or you can, if you go back in time, you can influence it never getting captured, if that's an option. Getting it closer and closer, if it's on if there's other timeline bleed overs too, and then getting it to where the timelines remerge or collapse, or you stop that thing in the unseen from happening, so it's as if, oh, you were always in your body, or if it just phases in, or if it tells you that it's gonna replace with your original body at some point unpredictably, so that it can't be prevented while you're asleep in the coming up weeks. Usually how I find it happens. And then so I'd say right now it's been decreasing how many people are in bodies, and it'd be like a suggestion that the dark side is trying to get the chess players on the field out of their original body, so they're less sovereign, less of themselves, more programmed with what they want. And as people reclaim and be in their their original physical bodies in the game, then that goes along with more awakening. And so it's a number that's fluctuating but it's going down currently. It used to be up to like 40%, but like based on it, like huge traumas people went through and ways to where it would seem like nothing happened, and go along with your game while everyone's bodies start getting healed up. And then now that's going down, but like there are clogs in that machine, so people feel not themselves, or like large amounts of pain, or like some stuff going on. They would just you would want to go in a meditation where you trust in your higher self to amplify and accumulating what it needs to preventing that and getting it back to where the physical body is with you now in these moments. The original.
All right. Yeah. Well said. Thank you, Sean. So questions from the chat. Somebody was some comments. Nancy, Detroit says Detroit's population is said to have a high percentage of clones. It's actually androids. From the Detroit Become Human series from CyberLife, and they're a group of it's a planetary corporation in our future. But I'll say, yeah, that's a totally another topic. So I'm not going to go into that. Someone says here, there's a lot of comments about Joe Biden being a clone. Can you confirm that that's the case, Sean?
A lot of elites have clones and they have body doubles. Sometimes I'll be able to tell which one they are in it at the moment, but it depends on like the filming of it. They'll have like different ears and lips and like all that, but or like eyes or these weird puffy cheeks. Um, a lot when I looked into that, it's very confusing and it changes all the time, and there's like collapsing of it because it's a chess move in the background that's being back and forth with the light. A lot of it goes down to how many clones they have, how many are breaking down, how many are unusable, how many are still usable, and where is the original one. If it's still alive, they're doing life extension, or if the original died, or they're trying to transfer their consciousness into a clone to keep themselves going. Um,
Well, what can you say about Joe Biden? Is he, or is it varies? The answer, you're not sure because it depends.
1 second. The contract holder has of the original being has to be near the action for the contracts to carry out in their favor. Otherwise, they're like abandoning the chess game. They're he's got more clones than some of the other ones have. Like, oh God, I don't really want to expose these people. 1 second. His original body isn't even doing that well. All they have left is breaking down, and they can barely have it on camera for even a little bit, and it's like, of course they'll like go under like dementia and all that. I'm seeing, okay, so don't like, there might be more people have different perceptions. Like, just take it with a grain of salt. I'm reading that he has around 6 clones left that he can use still, and that's like more than the other ones, and a lot of the cloning facilities have been getting messed with quite a bit. And I mean, there's some that they have a lot, but they're not very usable, especially at this time. And people have a ability to affect those places because they have a power supply to keep the cloning thing operational, and as soon as you turn off the power for a certain amount of time, the clone inside may die, or if it's in a stasis pod or something. So it's fragile. All of them are very fragile.
Can you
Wink,
comment
wink.
on this? Maybe audience members, so someone said that Joe Biden had blue eyes at one point. Now his eyes are black. I don't know. I haven't actually researched that to confirm that's the case.
Yeah, I don't really like to look into his eyes, but yeah, it seems like he's the blackening of his soul or whatever. Jeez.
All right. Well, okay.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, let's move on because I was trying to get into these predictions and people are throwing more questions. We almost gonna have to bring you back on again to
Sure.
answer more, but because we've been at this for a while and I don't really like to go past the 2 hour mark,
No
which
problem.
we are at. But okay, so the predictions are the U.S. The Fed. This has to do with the federal government is going to be dissolved to a point that will have no more. It will have no more power. Regional powers will maintain bureaucracies. So every state will have its own power. These include 5 nations, parts of Northern California, Oregon, and Nevada. I'm trying to make sure I pronounce it right. Texas, New England states, Atlanta area, which of course that's in Georgia, and Colorado. So each would have their own military forces. The rest would be Mad Max. Intrusion to Canada and Mexico will force walls to go up from those countries within the next couple of years. Russia will be called in to assist Canada defend its borders and China from Mexico. These two peacekeeping forces, I guess Russia and China, will intrude into the U.S. Central Territories. China mainly for the wheat and oil. So, except for 10 of the states, the rest would be taken over where there is an interest in some natural resource, probably before 2025. So, that goes into George Washington's third vision. Now, of course, this is all from the negative timeline, so I think this can be averted. We're not,
Yeah.
but okay, so, and then I asked about the med beds for my source here, and they said that I know you've mentioned this Sarah many times, but I have no sign of it. See, there will be no sign of it in the future. The first release of free energy seems to occur this year around November, but it'll be overlooked with all the events. Southwest Coast Africa under ocean mining seems to be a critical element for the three pieces that would free humanity from the oil cartel. The house of sod bushes and the whole oil gas industry will be rarely used as a raw material. Silver will be used for this free energy. The mining off the coast of Africa will be done by the Chinese. The two other critical elements are Canadian, is from a Canadian inventor and Australian. The combination of these three, mining plus release of hidden technology, would release free energy within the next 1.5 years, right around the end of 2021. Replicator tech should be released within that time period, so replicators of replicators would mean every household would have the tech. The absolute deadline is 2025 for everything. They are looping our time over and over again. Every time they do that, they are destroying our genetics and people and causing collective energy to lower. These time loops are approved by the councils, or I guess the council, overseeing the planet. So I really think there's more than one council, but anyway. Their interest is not the humans or peace, it is the Earth itself and coordinating that many projects don't overstep each other. The council has approved the military to take control of Earth, Mars, and Moon and take ownership of humans by 2025 to carry out their program. So all alien projects will have to be approved by the military oversight. Until that time, we are still under the old 22 races with their projects, with many of the projects closed and races have left. Some of these races have fully eliminated, but with their tech automatically maintained by the android greys that keep the projects going, unbeknownst to them, that the creators of the projects are left. Some of these projects are chemtrail spraying. There are many types, and each faction has their own portion within the chemtrails. So I'm gonna pause right there. Do you want to comment about any of this, Sean? Anything you want to add, or do you agree or disagree?
I agree that this is a timeline that exists. I don't believe it's going to be the timeline that exists, especially as people become aware of it. I'm glad that you're sharing it with people so that it can new one can be birthed through the transmutation of the ashes of that one. Yeah, I'd say that. So I see multiple like branches of possibilities having to do with everyone's chess move, and then all categories like all the negative-ish ones, the neutral-ish, and then the more positive. Yeah, that would be of course the negative. So that go along with what I'd see with some of them, and then a lot of the other variants in the negative would have to do with how many inspirational invention ideas people have on their own and are able to bring out to the world, because that will save a lot if we're on that negative timeline. The council, I'd say that they're relaying to is probably the Council of 13, which has like some of its original members have been like devoured, and then some of the council is like replaced with this negative kind of. I mean, they're dark, powerful beings. They're so it's not ideal, but they're kind of better than what could be there, kind of thing, like lesser evils. But that needs to be resolved mostly with wholeness and remedy of the original authorities back to wholeness again, which human experiment is involved in helping that grow. There's other authorities though, not just them, that are involved in the future thing. But can you go into a little bit more back into it? I'm trying to remember what else it was said.
just like okay, replicator
Oh
tech,
yeah,
free
replicator.
energy.
I'd,
Yeah.
I'd agree with the 25 seems to be a big mark. 25, 2030. Wouldn't be able to say that it's definite to happen, but there seems to be a lot pushing for it, including the light, and the dark usually likes to hold on until their last like ditch efforts before they have to move to keep. If the light's gonna do it, they're gonna try possibly get credit in some way, or not be far behind.
Hmm. All right. So the other question, part of the question was about the RV, and this person thought I was talking about remote viewing, not the revaluation of currency. But yeah, so we know RV is not a certainty, remote viewing that is. But before 2012, we were going through old timeline loops. That's why it was easy for psychics to predict the future. But now we're in this larger loop and we're being released of it. So now we can go in any direction possible. So that's why yeah, it's probably not necessarily. I think really it's up to us to make the future based on our own intention. So karmically, the U.S. has damaged many lives, many countries. The result, sorry, the rest of the planet has wished for a balancing of the damage done to them. And it's going to be coming tough years for the U.S. They're going to have to stay away from helping through difficult times. The world is against the U.S. now and its citizens for not fighting a government through the past 50 years of letting the government destroy many nations. But actually, that was part of that was through the Bretton Woods Agreement. The rest of the world nations agreed to let the CIA control the collateral accounts or guard it, and there's so I would say there's a lot at stake here. I mean, play here. A lot of people. There's more. It's more than just the U.S. problem. I'm just saying more people need to take credit for this problem, but yeah. So in the next 18 months, we're going to be pretty tough. So we're going to have to do yeah. But in the next coming decades, the U.S. is going to be known as a world center for of everything. All religions will be eliminated in the next 3 to 10 years. The more of the Christian fundamental stuff is going to take probably closer to 10. The U.S. is going to have the highest amount of gurus, more than anything that came out of India in the next coming years. The U.S. will be known for alternate medicine, healing, food, energy work. But to get there, we're going to have to go through massive changes in a very short period of time. So we're not going back to the way things were. I mean, some people say, well, the pandemic is over. Let's go back to, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
You would agree with that?
yeah. Come on. I wouldn't even want it to, but I don't want it to go in the direction that the dark want. But you know, change is guaranteed. But yeah, don't want. Uh, doesn't mean the conservative view of keeping it the way it was always is the thing to absolutely focus on. It has to be a combination of both, pushing each other to learn what's the best thing possible. The financial system needs a big parasite cleansing, as well as a really good defining thing, like document or paragraph that goes into, or exposing of what makes a good currency, or monetary, or one eye that extends from the eye in your heart that perceives all, and a current exchange throughout all being, including in spirit, and like people exchanging energy for value. Somebody said in the comments, what do aliens exchange for? Whatever they can get that both sides see as valuable, and a lot of it will go to metals, combinations of metals that only they have been able to figure out, and like can make ships and stuff. Value of products, food, things that they're good at.
Well, Randy Kramer has commented about what the ETs are trading currently with humanity. The biggest item is children's clothing, because apparently a lot of the ETs, they just make robes. That's it, and there's just one set of robes. So humans are so creative with the way the clothing, the different styles, and a lot of the ETs, the small ones anyway, because most ETs are the average height of ET out there is about 12 to 14 foot tall, but yeah, so So you can imagine there are probably some grays out there wearing some Levi's and some Jordan 1s. But
Yeah, have a new People's magazine or something for that.
the second largest export is beer. So apparently our alcoholic beverages are very useful. I suppose maybe coffee
Uh,
might be another one because coffee is actually considered a drug to certain extraterrestrials. Sort of just for us, it gives us a nice buzz, but to them, it's like being on heroin. So, but it's more of a illicit substance. But okay, let's get back to our topic because I want to get through this as quickly as possible because we're going.
Gotcha.
This show's coming a little bit too going over time here. Okay, so we got religions are going away. Pivotal point is 2025. Dark forces are getting desperate. There's a massive psyop to manipulate through social media, create news cutouts that don't exist, create real life looking animation videos of black. Well, I think that that was it Floyd, that guy? He was anyway. Segregation, separation, compartmentalization is their goal. So okay, let's go down here. The importance is the awakened masses being directed through thought. They need to realize their co-creative potential by thinking. We can manifest it. This goes for money, resources, and direction of life. The same manner we redirect our thoughts and energy, we can do that to the destructive path to create it into a more age of enlightenment. So Trump may be doing great by getting rid of the parasites, but there's the same military faction that stood by when the atrocities took place are now being charged with supposedly, trying to fix things. So we have to forgive them. We don't have to, so you don't have to do anything, but we should probably consider forgiving them. So maybe I don't know. Can we support them? This is something that we have to discuss because these topics are not going to be easy over the next
Yeah.
5 years when we go through this transition period. So there's also going to be a massive push to go to Mars, where some of the reptilian factions will be moving off the moon. So we're gonna have a large presence there. And there are okay. So it's just going. I don't understand how there are no planets. Maybe there's some kind of dimensional portals here. I'm not sure what this. But the moon has 3D energy. Earth is 4D. Mars is 5D. Okay, Australia is going to be the first to be affected by all these. I guess the galactic core energies that's coming in. It's
Interesting.
changing.
I've heard that too. And it seems to be
Uluru. Yeah.
a big like mechanism in the mechanics. If you want to like activate the big machine in Earth, they're like an organization to things, and like Australia is one of the big things to organize, which is a lot of the reptoids are all moving there when they get ejected from some other point in the continent. I see them all going to Australia as well as New Zealand. Unfortunately, I love Australia, and it's got a lot of power. So I wouldn't say there's anything bad about Australia, but they're kind of like making it kind of dramatic, fortunately. But yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I got in my notes. I mean, there's a lot more we could discuss, but we'll save it for another time.
That's some good
What?
stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
So, Sean, any other final comments you want to tell the audience members?
All right, so it can continue on the abundance thing. Uh, Things to amplify your own if you're having troubles and struggles. Go into your heart. A lot of core things go into lack of love. And then when love can shine brilliantly and breathed in and out through your daily life, it will attract more of everything, and people will be attracted to your love, experiences, opportunities. You'll be able to support yourself well, and then of course with your power and being able to shine that out every day, despite anything that wants to hold it down or compress it through the walls or the heart walls that like limit it, and then you being able to rise up past that or transmute it, or loving letting go and raising up as these things attach to us to go after our own light. Then working on our shadow, which is in that heart wall that we feel that is holding back ourself, and being able to embrace that shadow in love, as it also represents the external world, such as the people that we need to forgive. Just seeing ourselves, trying to remind ourselves that we are everyone, and ultimately we would just be hating ourselves and keeping back the whole awakening of our and healing of our entire being. That would be represented by them getting healing that heals that aspect reflecting in us, and we being able to heal that aspect in us, and it also affect their healing. And then so those people in the world that are holding up things, we can find that aspect inside of us and embrace it in love, and or bring it back to unity, so that everything in your body, the representation of Earth, our entire species in your body, is working together. All the planets align behind you, all the stars, the whole universe, as you can feel it more and more in love connection between everything. And when the spirit, the ego shadow, the light, the dark, all like come together, they agree, and it flows instantly. And you connect your heart to the things you see in abundance that you want to flow into your life. The version of yourself that already exists in a moment in the timeline that already has that thing, or you have yourself whole, or you are that greatest version of yourself, whatever you want to manifest as the abundant self. And you being that, you cultivating being that every moment and feeling it deeply past like what you feel and what's held on to, and like fade out that old as you bring in and shine in the new. And make it so, like imprinting programs, the affirmations, the will, the emotions, the mind focus, how you dream, and add to it, and it telling you the trajectory by listening to your heart. What is the place you're supposed to be, and what it takes to be your greatest self, your abundant being, what you love to do. And then money follows it all. Of course, during this time, do whatever you can to survive, but like build the foundations of what you're meant to be, and eventually that will fuel you and make your life better. And abundance can be more than just money. It can be friends, it can be support, it can be happiness. See it in everything. It's like an energy that you've had through many other lifetimes or solar systems, and you want it to all come here and get through the TSA security, and then flow throughout your being and the plumbing, and get to what it needs to do to accumulate, and then do its job to attract those expressions into your life, as well as the abundant amount of energy. And that being represented in wealth and happiness and people around, and whatever you need. Go into that, and having that strong foundation to build up from the sacral, the creative tech, and your ability to imagine, and the power, and then the heart, and then have it all bloom. You want to cultivate your garden of yourself, and then see it as like this part of Earth that is helping her ultimately, and then you are like reflective to each other. So once you learn how to do it in yourself, you can master it for others, what you're good at, your skills, trade for it, become valuable, like filled with value. See value in yourself, what is valuable to you that you see in others, accumulate, learn skills, all this stuff, and then bring that value to Earth and help her in something that you're good at and something that only you can do.
Yeah. All right. So right now, I pulled up your website here. So it's Psionic League. Be sure to go check that out. I'll put that link in the description here. Well, you got a section on super soldiers.
Yeah. I'm only starting with it now, but
just
gonna add some people that are like part of it, and then people you can go to, and as the league grows with more members, then we'll have like all these unique individuals with skills people can learn from. Cool. Let me know if you guys want to, if anyone wants to sign up too.
Sure. How do we sign up for the Psionic League, or just?
Yeah, you can go on there. You can contact me. Also email, do consultations and all that, and I'll like run you through questions. And I eventually want to make a wizard school out of it or something, and online courses, and people can bring all their stuff together. I don't want to own anything. I want to be like a round table, and a share for the new generations. But like it's not, it's in a work in progress, so it's gonna be though.
Okay, great. Also, audience members, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And be sure to visit our sponsor, Neological Tech. I've got a couple more copies of my book. Not many. I need to get some more printed out, but you can get my book if you visit Neological Tech. It's the only place you can get it right now, and I will sign it if you want that. And be sure to visit supersoldiertalk.com. I've got a lot of interviews on here. Some of them are I post interviews not just from this channel, but when I go on other people's channels. So that's where you can see more interviews if you have more time. I don't know, it's so much content on YouTube now, drawing your time out. But so be sure to check that out. I want to say thank you, audience members, for being able to listen to this for over 2 hours. You are very patient. Thank you, and thank you, Sean, for
Thank you.
being willing to participate for this
Thank you
as
too.
well.
This helps a
Yep.
lot of people. Hopefully.
All right. Well, I wish everybody the best luck, whatever timeline you choose to be on, and we'll see if we can bring you back on here to answer some more questions. We can probably just do like a Q&A. So if audience members have questions, just put it in the comments section, and then if there's enough questions in there, we'll bring you back and we'll just go through it all.
Thank you. Honored. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
See you.